movement towards tokenization is necessary. I think we need to move very rapidly to doing that. We would be reducing fees. We would do more democratization by reducing more fees if we had all investments on a tokenized platform that you could move from a tokenized money market fund to equities and bonds and back and forth.
I do think the first poster child of tokenization is really stable coins. You saw, as Brian observed, massive growth last year. At Ripple, we very much focused on building the bridges between traditional finance, as Bill was describing, what we now call TradFi, and decentralized finance. And that has meant working with a lot of the banks around the world to kind of build those bridges.
I think tokenization is a huge one. I'm talking with probably a dozen governments about tokenizing some of their assets, because this way the government can actually realize the financial gains first and use that to develop those industries, extractions, trading markets, etc.
I think.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news related channel. And as you guys can tell, BlackRock, Ripple, and Binance are working together to bring forth the era of tokenization here inside the United States. And I know thousands of people out there in the XRP community have asked the question for a very long time. What is the end game for BlackRock, and why have they not filed for an XRP ETF yet? I think this is a great example of what could be happening behind the scenes. Ripple, Binance, BlackRock, Securitize, all of these companies working to tokenize real world assets and get them onto a single ledger. Now, where is a distributed ledger technology? That would be the XRP ledger. And that's why the opportunity far extends what's happening here with the XRP ETFs. But the title of today's episode is the XRP ETFs passed 1.5 billion in assets under management. This is phenomenal. Goes to show the continued growth of the product. And we're looking at already 0.78% of the circulating supply, of the total supply has been absorbed by the ETFs thus far. We're actually looking at about 1.4% of the circulating supply has been eaten up by the XRP ETF issuers at the beginning of 2025. But guys, today is a special episode. It is Conspiracy Friday, and we're going to kick off today's episode with a breakdown from Paul Barron, where he's talking about the Trump administration's goals when it comes to the crypto market. But I just wanted to quickly address some of the daily movers as we kick off today's show. Bitcoin trading at 89,500. Ethereum is 29.41. XRP is trading at $1.92. I do have a really interesting Bitcoin price chart that I'm going to show you all later on in the episode, and it draws the correlation to the bottom of the 2022 bear market and the sequence that we're seeing in the price chart today. Now, if Raoul Paul's clip, which I'm going to play later on in the show as well, is proven to be correct, fair value for Bitcoin at these ranges could be about $160,000. And we're going to get into that. But we already have over 1,200 live listeners here joining us. If you're excited, you enjoy this content, show us some love, smash that like button, and be sure to stick around for the whole episode as we're going to break down a lot of exciting topics. I'm also going to do a quick update on the XRP rich list for those who didn't catch the video last night. But with that being said, here's the new update out of Paul Barron and what's happening in the Trump administration.
Would work for the US dollar and global reserve currency system. And it does make sense, I think, when you look at it, but this also gets back to a real concern I have, and that is that Trump is getting into this Western Hemisphere thought process, which is very similar to the Monroe Doctrine. Obviously, if he sees Greenland as a strategic position, the move on Venezuela, possibly will we see more activity in South America, possibly in Canada. I mean, it's going to get very interesting as we get into this next phase, because the U.S. could be securing up for a digital shift. Think about that. If you start locking down a hemisphere, try to control the currency, move yourself in a position where you can maybe in an alternate theory of what your debt looks like and flip the switch to a new economic structure, you'd want to control, basically your trade zones, which would be basically the Western Hemisphere. So a lot of craziness, man. This is a bigger, more than the paycheck that I get for this.
Same here. I might be coming your way with a sleeping bag there, Paul.
This is a good one. Jesse, it's always fun talking with you.
I think Paul makes a great point there, guys. If there's one thing that we can take away from the World Economic Forum event this entire week, is that all of these global governments are working towards tokenization of real world assets and implementing blockchain systems. Now they're taking it different directions, right? Some are going towards the direction of a central bank digital currency. Others are going more the direction of the United States, which is prioritizing decentralized frameworks. But one of the things that our listeners have all come to understand is that the Clarity Act is going to be the defining moment for this industry. If the Clarity Act is brought forth here in 2026, that is the year the banks will start onboarding real world products into the blockchains that we've been talking about forever on this channel. And that's not just my opinion, right? This is Caroline Pham, the CFTC chairman. She stated 2026 is the year of institutional adoption. Nailed it. And that was in response to the New York Stock Exchange stating they are proud to develop a platform for trading on-chain settlement for tokenized securities. So we have Brad working on this. We have BlackRock working on this. And of course, we have Binance working on this. And Binance's CEO, CZ, put out a tweet that got a lot of attention yesterday. He stated, CZ says, crypto will make you not need a job. Buy and hold now, retire in a few years. I want to hear from our live chat, guys. Do you still believe in this? Because sentiment is so low in the crypto space. People are in despair. They're running out of hopium. They're looking for narratives to cling to. But I think the reality is that patience is what's going to play off in this game. We may be in a bear market right now, right? And that doesn't mean we're at the beginning of that process. We could be at the end of that process. And I know a lot of our listeners may not be familiar with this listener. This is Alex Becker. He's got millions of followers, creates crypto content very consistently since 2017, I believe. He said, every other post on here is how crypto has been ruined. The space is different, too much bad. Guys, straight up, get a grip. This is ridiculous. It's going to be fine. There will be another bull run. And our listeners have seen the news that earlier today, silver reached $100 for the first time. We also have gold about to pass $5,000. And I made the joke yesterday. I'll make it again. Who would have thought that gold would reach $5,000 before Ethereum? Well, we're now looking at the silver chart, and I'm about to show you guys the rotation that could be on the horizon for the crypto space. Now, this chart says that the bull run is almost here. The copper to gold ratio just hit the exact same levels that were marked by every Bitcoin bottom since 2010. You're hearing that correctly. 2011, 2015, and 2020, every single time the gold to copper pairing bottomed, this was a massive opportunity for crypto, and the Bitcoin bull market was just getting started. Now, if this pattern holds, the next 12 months could create brand new millionaires, and this is the opportunity we don't want to miss. We'll correlate this video to something else that Raul Paul just stated, but here's 30 seconds on the ratio and how it's set to impact Bitcoin.
Everyone is focused on silver and gold, but they're missing one key asset. What we're looking at here is Bitcoin versus the copper to gold ratio. Now, here's the thing. Historically, every time the copper to gold ratio has bottomed, well, then that has been a sign of the Bitcoin bull run starting. It happened here in 2020, in 2016, and in 2012. So all we really need here going into 2026 is for the copper to gold ratio to bottom. Now, here's the thing. We are at the exact same levels as all the previous bottoms.
And there you have it, guys. And that's
Everyone
why
is focused.
I continue to share the bullish sentiment on this channel, because a lot of the smartest players in the market are telling us we are in something different this time. And CZ, like you guys saw at the beginning of the episode, he's saying buy and hold. He thinks a super cycle is on the way. And that's what this clip is out of Davos just yesterday. We do have over 1,400 live listeners, 850 watching on YouTube. I want to hear from you guys. Throw a 1 in chat if you think 2026, we get a bull market, we get a super cycle narrative. 2's in chat if you're in that despair kind of mindset where you feel like this is a bear market and we're just getting started. 1's if you're bullish, 2's if you're bearish. But here's what CZ had to say about a super cycle and what his beliefs are.
2026, I'm not sure. You may be, I think I have very strong feelings that you will probably be a super cycle.
Be a super cycle.
2026, yeah.
For Bitcoin.
For Bitcoin.
And what
do you think that means for the altcoin market? It means that we are going to see brand new all-time highs. Now, Raul Paul put out a brand new clip earlier this week, and we are going to be breaking down some of the exciting content right here, which is why is Brad Garlinghouse advocating for the Clarity Act if many industry experts like Charles Hoskinson are saying this is going to kill the industry? Well, this is what Alex Cobb had to say. I am suspiciously bullish on Brad Garlinghouse wanting the crypto legislation to move quickly. It's like he's waiting to let the cat out of the bag on something big with XRP, and he's very eager to make that public. Well, Charles Hoskinson actually called him out. This is a very short clip. He stated maybe Brad Garlinghouse is addicted to hanging out with Trump. Here's what Charles had to say.
So I don't understand why Brad would be a proponent of this. Maybe he's gotten addicted to hanging out with Trump and being in that circle. So I don't understand why Brad would be a proponent of this. Maybe he's gotten addicted to hanging out with Trump and being in that circle.
Well, here's the rational reason, guys. Brad Garlinghouse knows Ripple's in the process of becoming a bank, and he's working hand in hand with the Trump administration to develop the Clarity Act. So they're going to make sure that whatever Ripple's doing, whatever their goals are in the long term, they're going to use the Clarity Act to make those goals flourish, to expand their business model inside the United States. And Charles has been very, very critical of Brad. But here's the thing. When Brad, Ripple, all these companies were sued by the SEC back in 2020, and Coinbase Uphold was the only exchange that allowed XRP to be traded. Coinbase delisted, Crypto.com delisted. There was a huge narrative that XRP was an unregistered security. Well, where was Charles then? Where was Brian Hodgkinson? I mean, Brian Armstrong then, when we really needed these guys to be fighting for the industry and advocating for our project. Well, now that we're on the precipice of getting the Clarity Act passed, we're going to see a massive leg up in the crypto space. And most importantly, Brad is working with the Trump administration to develop the Clarity Act. That's why I'm wearing the Make Crypto Great Again hat today, guys, because with the Clarity Act and with all this new money set to enter the crypto space, we're going to see new all-time highs in Bitcoin, and that's going to have an impact on many of our favorite altcoin projects. And the fact that so many retail investors are tapping out, they're exiting crypto. Like Alex Becker just said, every other post on social media is about how crypto's underperforming and people are fed up. Well, those are the indicators that we're at a market bottom. When retail is excited, when retail is buying up the digital asset space, that's typically when we're in a bull market and we're at the top. When you think about where retail investors are scared, they're not placing risk on bets, they're not investing in digital assets, those are typically the bottoms. And I saw in the last 4 weeks alone, institutions have accumulated, I believe, $3.2 billion worth of Bitcoin in these ranges. They are getting their institutional clients cheap exposure to Bitcoin at $88,000, $89,000. And then when this market ramps up, if the Clarity Act is passed, game on for not just Bitcoin, but the entire crypto space here, guys. We do have over 1,600 live listeners. One's in chat if you're bullish, two's in chat and you're bearish. And I do want to give a massive thank you and shout out as we already passed 252 likes on the episode. If you're having fun and you enjoy this show, smash that like button. It's a really easy way to help us out. And it's a totally free way to participate in the program. But again, what has Raul Paul been saying? Bitcoin should be $160,000 already. This is a clip that I want to expand on, and then we'll break down the Binance, Ripple, and BlackRock tokenization aspect of this whole thing. Here's Raul saying fair value for Bitcoin is $160,000.
But the map, Bitcoin today should be at 160,000. So that's the discount we are to fair value according to liquidity. So that was the feature of the year. It was a technical year because of what happened. It should have been a lot stronger finish to the year.
And there you have it, guys. So he's talking about the October 10th collapse and the impact that that had on the crypto market. He's stating fair value for Bitcoin based on the liquidity cycles and the risk on assessment of this market is $160,000. Take that for what you will. But if Bitcoin goes to $160,000 from where we are today, that's nearly 100% gains from this now $90,000 price target. Well, that would mean these altcoins are going to explode as well. When did XRP start to move? When did Cardano, Chainlink, AVAX, all these projects begin to move back in the 2024 pump that we experienced? It was after Bitcoin created its new all-time high. Then these altcoins began to play catch up. Well, if Bitcoin's going back into a bullish environment and we're going to see Bitcoin trading back above $125,000, it's a safe assumption to say that the altcoins are going to do something very similar. And we're going to see projects like Cardano and XRP, Solana, Ethereum move back into this bullish sentiment, leaving all the retail investors that are exiting the space and taking profits, cashing out at these ranges. Those are the people who are going to come back in when asset prices are higher. And you guys have seen it before. We're going to see it again. When asset prices begin to pump, that's when retail investors start flooding into the market in a way you've never seen. We saw, I think, digital asset exposure go from 25 million people inside the US to 50 million people. The space doubled in 2024. And a lot of that had to do with the election of Donald Trump and all the positive price action that brought the risk on assets forward. They expand the reach of the digital asset market. And for us as long-term investors, that's a great time to be taking profit. Now, I'm going to take a little brief synopsis here. We're going to go down the Clarity Act rabbit hole, but I want to share the thoughts of John Deaton and why this is so important. If we don't get clarity passed in the first 2 quarters of 2026, midterms roll around, Republicans lose control of the House, and it's a whole different ball game for the entire Trump administration all the way up until the year 2028. Here's what John Deaton had to say.
You know, when I look at the bill, I think a bill, I agree with Brad Garlinghouse. Let's not let perfection get in the way of good, because once you leave the table in these midterm elections, and there could be a macro event, it could be with Iran, everyone's attention turns to that. The Democrats take control, and Elizabeth Warren becomes the chairwoman of the banking committee, which she would be. we're just going to go back if the SEC has all the control and we're arguing over tokenized securities. And so time is of the essence. And I think that if they're not talking about marking that up in the next few weeks, I'm going to go from cautiously optimistic to it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and
I'll
obviously,
go full Charles Hodgkinson on it.
Shout out to Charles Hodgkinson, guys. Now I want to hear from you. One's in chat if you believe we get the Clarity Act passed. Two's in chat if you think it's not happening here. And I do want to give a shout out to John Deaton. He's going to be joining our show, I believe, in the month of February. We're going to be talking about all this stuff. But let me ask you all a question. With the banks, this is the main takeaway from the World Economic Forum, guys. Every single major player, banks, companies, BlackRock, everyone is focused on tokenization. So if we're about to see trillions of dollars worth of tokenized assets enter the market, we need a framework. And I think JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon was advocating for this. We had BlackRock CEO advocating for this. We now have the CEO of Circle saying in the next 3 to 5 years, literally billions of AI agents will use crypto and stablecoins to move value at lightning speed. Think about Ripple, guys. Where is this market headed over the next year and a half? Where is it headed over the next 18 months, I would say? We are going into full-blown tokenization, stablecoins everywhere, mass marketing of digital assets. And right now is the time before that mass marketing campaign begins. We do have Johnny Krypto joining us, guys. We're going to get into that. Here's one clip. The CEO of Circle saying billions are coming in the next 3 to 5 years.
The next generation of blockchain networks, things like Arc, which Circle's building on, there's other new blockchain networks, are actually being designed specifically for agentic compute. They're designed specifically for the financial and economic activity of a
tech issues got the best of us, Johnny. I'll get that thing loaded up in the background. But again, guys, what am I really building up to is that every single major player is now advocating for tokenization. And Johnny, you can just take this wherever you'd like, but this is where I was going with this. If the banks are advocating for the tokenization of real world assets, which just means stable coins at scale, you don't think about the tokenization of your house or your car. Just think about the tokenization of the US dollar. If banks are advocating for this, blockchain companies are advocating for this, the US government is saying that this could be a way that we expand US dollar dominance. Well, then what's preventing the Clarity Act from being passed? Essentially nothing. They're debating the nuances of how this asset class is going to expand. And that's why I'm so sure that when the Clarity Act gets passed, all these different companies, all these different facets of the American economy and the global financial system, they're playing this front like they're not on the same team. They're on the exact same team. And the World Economic Forum event in Davos showed us this. So, Johnny, I'm going to play one more clip for you here so you can take this wherever you'd like. Securitize tweeted out earlier this morning, BlackRock, Ripple, and Binance are bullish on tokenization. Are you? Here's the clip that they tweeted out.
The movement towards tokenization is necessary. I think we need to move very rapidly to doing that. We would be reducing fees. We would do more democratization by reducing more fees if we had all investments on a tokenized platform that you can move from a tokenized money market fund to equities and bonds and back and forth.
You know, I do think the first poster child of tokenization is really stable coins. You saw, as Brian observed, massive growth last year. At Ripple, we very much focused on building the bridges between traditional finance, as Bill was describing, what we now call TradFi, and decentralized finance. And that has meant working with a lot of the banks around the world to kind of build those bridges.
I think tokenization is a huge one. I'm talking with probably a dozen governments about tokenizing some of their assets, because this way the government can actually realize the financial gains first and use that to develop those industries, extractions, trading markets, etc.
So, Johnny,
the movement towards tokenization.
All the way back in 2023, people were asking us the question, why hasn't BlackRock filed for an XRP ETF? My belief was always the same. They are working on something much bigger, and that's the tokenization of real world assets. It starts with stablecoins and it moves to money markets. We're going to see stocks, bonds, everything tokenized at some point. And what do you take away from the account that Securitize, which obviously you're going to elaborate on who they are? Well, they tweeted out BlackRock, Ripple, and Binance are bullish on tokenization. That's all three facets. You have the largest crypto company in Ripple. You have the largest financial company globally in BlackRock, and you have the largest crypto exchange in Binance advocating for the tokenization of real world assets. This is where we have to read between the lines. That's just the name of the game. If I'm right in this prediction, which is all these companies are working together and the Clarity Act ends up getting passed, they're playing this front like it's not going to happen. It happens, euphoria hits, market changes forever. Well, that's the generational wealth opportunity that people have been waiting for. And when you talk about a flip of the switch, it is a turning on of financial markets. It's not building brand new markets and creating new revenue. It's tapping into existing markets and using that to profit for the investors like ourselves. Johnny, I know I said a lot there. Take it wherever you'd like. Thank you for being here. Floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Subs. Good morning to you and all the crypto maniacs out there. Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. Listen, at the end of the day, that's why I laugh when people think like, oh, crypto's dead, crypto's over, I'm out. Like, guys, you don't understand. Crypto's just getting blockchains and digital assets and tokenization is just getting started. And what people can't seem to wrap their head around is it's difficult when you're trying to get the whole world. It's difficult to get one company to adopt a new technology, let alone the whole entire world. Okay. It's a huge lift to make that happen. Lots of people need to be all on the same page. I mean, you can't even get 3 people in the same room on the same page. Try getting multiple companies, multiple banks, different industries, the whole system on the same. This is going to take time. All right. So the reality is you just have to understand how the whole thing works. And you got to understand, if you're here for the money, you have to understand how the money cycles work. And there's really going to be 2 periods. There's going to be a speculation phase. There's going to be a utility phase. One's going to happen now. One's going to happen several years from now. That's it. That's simple, folks. I just gave it to you. It's easy. Now, right now, we're looking for the speculation phase, and we want to be able to participate in that, and we want to be able to make a bunch of money off of that. Well, I hate to tell you, but that's not really going to trigger off until the Clarity Act comes. We need that because the Clarity Act is ultimately going to be the key to being able to unlock the final round of institutional money that's going to come in. And then then you'll get this action later on where we see like gold and silver when retail starts coming and driving everything over like crazy. So Securitize, that's the company that's actually going to be doing a lot of this tokenization. They're a partner with BlackRock. Ripple, as you have heard, is smart. They're finding their way in between TradFi and DeFi. So they're going to try to bridge that gap for them. They want to play in this. And that's why you're seeing this comment right here that they're all bullish, because they all understand at the end of the day, there's multiple things that need to happen along the tokenization process, and they can all participate. And they all want to have skin in the game for this. So for me, BlackRock's going to lead the charge. Blockchain is coming. Money's going to come into the space, and it's going to just drive the whole industry up. So, Abs, at the end of the day, I think that's really the key here is you just want to be in the water. You want to have your boat in the water before the high tide comes. That's the easiest way really to say it from how I'm playing it. And so that's it. Patience is really the key right now. And the reality is, dude, everybody's so down on crypto, and it's so funny. Everywhere I read, smart money's buying everything up. You heard Kathy Woods again talking today about how she made big purchases on smart money. I love Alex Becker. He's one of my favorite. But everybody's like, just doesn't understand or doesn't get that this is the time that smart money loves. They love when the retail sentiment is down because they're eating all this up because they understand the bigger picture. They can see where the world is going. In fact, everybody in our chat knows where the world is going. They can see it because we report on it every day. So to me, this is actually just very more bullish, exciting news that the future is bright for us. I believe it's setting up perfectly for 26, 27, and 28. I don't know exactly how the money and liquidation is going to happen, but all I can tell you is, as a betting man, would I want to be in this asset class or not bet early on it? I definitely want to be here early than too late. That's for sure.
Guys, we did just pass 350 likes on the episode. If you agree, BlackRock, Ripple, and Binance are working together on this, smash that like button. If you disagree, leave a comment underneath the video. And the goal for today, can we pass 500 likes during the episode? I believe we can get it done. But let me give a shout out to the people who are here every single day, because the crypto space is dwindling before our very eyes. Thousands of people are exiting the market on a daily basis. And like Johnny said, it's not the smart money. It's not the veteran investors. It's the people who showed up in the last 12 to 18 months with really high expectations, whose expectations weren't met, and now they're exiting the space. These are the signs of a market bottom. And Johnny, if you didn't hear, silver just reached $100 for the first time in human history this morning. We also have gold just below $5,000 in total value. And I made the joke, gold about to hit 5K before Ethereum, but look at the amount of volume that's been added to these two assets in just the last 22 days. Gold added 3.9 trillion to its market cap in just 22 days. Let me remind you, the entire market cap of crypto right now is only $3 trillion. So gold in 22 days added 1.25x the entire crypto market cap to this individual asset.
By the way, so that's FOMO, right? So you have a lot of retail running into this right now, and that FOMO is driving it up, Abs. That's exactly the same kind of behavior once crypto gets on a tear that we're all expecting, right? And that's what we didn't get right now, and that's okay. It'll come at some point. But what I'm hearing is what you're seeing here is really the reset of gold and silver pricing, and that we're never going to see 2,000 gold again in $20 silver, because of the fact that, don't forget, you got the Japanese unwind trade where cheap money's gone, and so now what's the U.S. doing, right? Japan's selling, they're getting out of all the bonds, right, dumping our stuff, and the U.S. is buying them again. We're printing so that the yield price and the yield curve doesn't get out of whack, and that's what I think is driving a lot of this price up right now. And from what I'm hearing, it's going to stay here. So we may never see 2,000 gold again. I'm not saying we're going to see 5 either. It may settle around 4 or something like that. But the point is, you are seeing a reset of gold and silver, again, a hedge against inflation, because the Fed is going to buy up all those shares that Japan starts dumping in this unwind process.
Johnny, there's a lot of charts and evidence too that goes to show when gold has its bull run, typically once the price chart turns over, that's when it gets exciting for assets like Bitcoin and of course XRP in correlation with that, because those two assets move together.
Good point.
But the point that I was kind of building up to here, Johnny, was that when you look at how much money has been added to just these two assets in 22 days, it goes to show what's possible for the crypto space. For people out there who think it's over, I can predict the future, this asset class, it's on its back end. That's what people said about silver and gold for the last 5 years, right? And when we had Matt Hogan on the show, he gave us a very good story about how the biggest companies have been allocating into this asset class for 2 years now. Well, it took 3 years with Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's going to be, it took 3 years with gold, and I'm not saying it's going to be the same exact thing, right? I don't think it's going to be exactly 3 years. I actually think it's going to happen sooner. I think people are allocating themselves right now. But when you look at $1.3 trillion added to silver in just 22 days, that's 10x XRP's market cap, essentially. That goes to show the possibilities here. And if there is a rotation from the lowering of the credit, from the S&P creating brand new all-time highs, gold and silver also outperforming, when people begin to rotate some of that capital into crypto, well, we know this space moves way more volatile than a gold or a silver. If gold is able to do a 2-3x in a year, Johnny, crypto went from $1,700 in late 2024 to $5,000 essentially here in 2026. If gold can do that in this environment, imagine what an asset like Bitcoin can do, which is built to be more volatile. An asset like XRP, which is 1/10 the market cap. Sorry, I think it's actually less than that of silver. Imagine the possibilities here. We could see a huge rotation of capital. And when that rotation of capital hits these markets, guys, that could be the moment that we've been talking about, where we're focused on taking profit and not instead just trying to get people to the finish line, because there is a lot of responsibility. It's like Alex Becker said, Johnny, so much negativity, so many people tapping out of the crypto space. That's not what you're going to find on our channel. I believe that something completely different is happening. And Michael Burry was wrong way before he was right. A lot of these people, you have to go out on a limb. You have to go against the crowd. Ask the unvaxxed, right? From 2020 was very difficult at the time. 5 years later, I don't hear many people regretting that decision. Same idea right here. And I'm keeping it lighthearted. Shout out to the Johnny. But the truth is, I'm going to kick it over to you and then we'll keep going with the article.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I bring that chart back up. You know, one of the things that's important here is this is what we call a risk-off bet. So when people are scared, okay, and they don't want to have high risk, they go into something safe, and this is what you're witnessing. Now, what happens sooner or later is exactly what this man, Kola Feji, whatever he says. Read what he's saying, because this is what's going to eventually happen. Is gold and silver going to get so high, right? Price is going to be great. And eventually the fear, the risk off, type mentality will go away and risk on will come on. And when it does, this is what people are going to do. They're going to rotate their capital from all the profits they made here. And again, that's why I tell you it's like a liquidity cycle. It's like a big pile of clay money, and it just gets molded into one way or another. Right now it's molded and it's going into gold and silver. And eventually, I love abs too. And then eventually it's going to go into other risk on assets, and those will be things like crypto, and things are going to go nuts, and everybody's going to be excited about it. And we'll witness something like this, but not right now. Right now, it's not going to happen because, as you said, look at the accumulation period on this chart, guys. It was almost 2 to 3 years of gold and silver going sideways. Because why, Abs? I'll tell you why. because smart money and institutional money, big money, takes a very, very long time to get into a position, because if it moves in too quick, it ends up driving it up too high. And I love you too, Autumn, by the way. Thank you for being a longtime fan here. So the reality is we're kind of witnessing the same thing, and the blueprint's right in front of you. You just got to be patient. And a lot of people aren't, and that's why they're leaving. And then here's the worst part, Abs. Everybody who was in right now during that flat period and they got out, you know when they're going to come back in? When that price starts going back up. They're, oh my God, I missed it. I got to get back in. I used to be in that. I need to get back in. And they're going to be buying it way up at the top rather than staying where they are right now, like you and me, where we're in that sideways accumulation. Most of our chat is in at that sideways accumulation. You just got to be here and you got to be patient. And in fact, you know, Abs, we're buying right now as we speak. We're buying it still.
And I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it again. I really think that you have to go against the crowd if you want to be successful in this market. When everybody's selling you the dream that prices are going to go higher when we're in this bull run, take a little bit of profit, put it on the sidelines. That's why we reference Merlin, guys. We use this product ourselves. By taking a little bit of profit at the peak of the market, you give yourself a huge strategic advantage. And I did do an an article yesterday. I meant a video. What am I talking about? I did a video yesterday talking about the XRP rich list. And this is a list that I think is going to change. Now, guys, one of the things that I've been saying for a very long time is that as XRP continues to increase in price, it's going to be really hard to find yourself on this list. Now, to get into the top 10%, takes about 2,300 units of XRP. Give or take, it's about $4,500. If you even think XRP is going to reach $10, let's say, at any point, that means it's going to be a $23,000 investment to climb into the top 10%. The top 2%, it's about $48,000 investment right now. That could be at a $10 price, $230,000. Now, again, this is why I think it's important for people to have goals in the space as well. When you think about how much XRP you'd like to own, this could be a really good reference point, right? Maybe you just got into the space, you bought 100 tokens or 500 tokens. You go, how many XRP do I need to actually play this game? This could be a great goal, getting up to that 2,300 top 10% of wallets on the planet. And this just goes to show how small the community is as well, Johnny. Remember, there's 7 million wallets, but on average, we're talking about 5 or 6 wallets across the board. There are companies that have hundreds of wallets just for their individual consumers. That's kind of what we're looking at here. So it's not like 7 million people own XRP. The community is actually way smaller than that. But I want to address this comment. Would you agree that gold and silver can rotate into crypto and then rotate back out into gold and silver? Now, historically, we don't see a rotation from gold and silver. Actually, it's the credit limits that could have an impact on the crypto space. Now, that's a more nuanced conversation. I do want to give a big thank you to Autumn for the membership and the $10 this morning. It is Conspiracy Friday, guys, so we're going down the rabbit hole. But Johnny, the truth is, historically, gold topping is great for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has its price run, then that rotates into alts. So just so people get a fundamental understanding.
I think that's fair. I think the one difference here, though, Abs, is because we've seen such a massive run on gold and silver, I think there will be retail that will cash out. Like, so the institution smart money, they won't. They're going to hold on to their gold and silver. The retail money, I think, again, it's just my 8 cents. So, don't make your investment decisions on what we say here. We're not financial advisors. But my gut tells me that you will see retail. I mean, my mom's doing it. I got my mom into gold and silver back when gold was $800 and silver was $12. And you know what my mom said to me yesterday? I told her $100. She said, sell it. Sell it. She wants to sell it, right? So that's the retail, and I love my mom, but that's the retailer mindset. Like, if it goes up high, I want to sell it and I want to get out, and they're going to go. So I think, to answer Autumn's question, some portion, the retail portion of it, a chunk of that, I think will roll out. I mean, you just saw one of the other guys literally just say it. So I do believe there will be some of that will roll out of gold and silver. It'll go into crypto. And if crypto goes up enough, will it come out and go back into gold and silver? Well, that depends on what gold and silver is doing later and where we are in terms of risk on versus risk off. But I do think we'll definitely get a rotation out of the metals, like you said, into Bitcoin, and then out of Bitcoin and into the other assets eventually, as we normally see, when the time is right. But right now, it's not right because the smart money, the elite institutions don't want to sound the horn off yet, Abs. They're not ready. They want to wait, in my opinion, for the Clarity Act to come. Now, the Clarity Act is going to be a problem. It's going to be a big battle. Go ahead.
I'm going to play this video, guys, because this is a perfect segue into what Johnny was just talking about with the Clarity Act. Trump to sign the crypto market bill very soon. This is a representative for the Senate Banking Committee talking about how this is one of Trump's #1 priorities in 2026. We are at 470 likes for the episode. If you're enjoying today's content, smash that like button. The goal for today was 500 likes. We're only 30 likes away. So shout out to you guys, the best community in all of crypto. And with that being said, here's the update on the Clarity Act and what's the possibility of this getting signed.
We stand today with this.
Well, Cheryl, it's great to be with you. This is really an important priority, not only for President Trump, but for Republicans here in the House, where we've worked for 4 years on market structure legislation, and we've passed it twice. We passed it in the last Congress, my bill called Fit 21, and then this Congress, just last July, we passed the Clarity Act, which is what the Senate is debating. And the Clarity Act got 78 Democratic votes here in the House. We lay out the strict rules for market structure on how to treat a digital asset as a commodity or as a security, how you store it, how you can custody it, how it can be used for collateral, how banks will interact with digital assets. So it's a very important bill. You cannot pass a bill just for dollar-backed stable coins like the Genius Act that President Trump signed into law last year without market structure. It's like passing a bill authorizing cell phones, but there's no cell towers. So this bill is very important. I agree with the president that I hope he can sign it soon. We're working with senators to get this text in good shape, listening to their ideas, their concerns, their changes they'd like to make, so that we can get a bill that the digital asset community and the traditional finance community can both support and get this on the president's desk.
Well, Johnny, I just said it to you earlier. The banks, the big companies, everybody's on board now. Ripple's advocating, JP Morgan's advocating, BlackRock's advocating for this. The SEC is advocating for this. The SEC actually went out of their way to produce brand new crypto guidance this morning on their Twitter account. And I'll show this while you kind of respond. Crypto asset custody basics for retail investors. Talk about a complete 180.
There
Before
you go. They're starting to put the things in place. The biggest challenge still is going to be that yield fight. That's the big one because the banks feel they're going to lose too much money if exchanges have the ability to offer yield, and they don't. I just don't want to understand why the banks don't go, okay, you know what? We'll just raise our interest rates. I mean, that's a simple solution, but banks don't want to do that. So to me, that is going to be the last sticking point, and we're going to have to see where that thing plays out. And unfortunately, until that does get resolved, we ain't seen the Clarity Act. So I hope it gets done quick, but you can hear everybody talking that they feel like we're getting closer, Abs. And I believe, you know, it's in crypto's best interest, especially Coinbase's, to figure this out. So I hope we get it soon so we can get this bill passed.
Well, guys, I hope you walked away from a better understanding during today's episode. BlackRock, Binance, Ripple, they're all on the same team. And what team is that? The tokenization of real world assets. We got 3,200 live listeners here. If you enjoyed today's content, just want to give a huge shout out and thank you once again. We reached our goal, past 500 likes on this Friday episode. If you had some fun, you enjoy the channel, smash that like button. Check out some of our sponsors. Of course, we have the ITrust sponsorship where you get institutional custody capabilities for regular retail investors. And if you have a Roth IRA, here's the best part. Tax-free crypto gains, guys, through a Roth IRA product leveraging iTrust. So check it out. Click on the link below. If you had fun, smash the like button. And we may not see you tomorrow. We may not be here on Sunday, but we will be back once again Monday morning, hopefully celebrating a Patriots victory. So we love you guys. We appreciate you all. And we'll see you all in the next.
You're going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. See, the bottom line is, well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news.
So if you're looking to implement the same strategies that we do here on Good Evening Crypto, I would encourage all of our listeners to click on the Merlin link below and sign up for ITrust Capital as well. Now, why are our listeners going to do this? By leveraging the Merlin application, you can create a profit plan for yourself so you know exactly where you're going to be exiting this market. But leveraging iTrust through a Roth IRA product, you can take advantage of tax-free crypto gains during this crypto bull market. So I would encourage everybody, click on the link down below, sign up for iTrust today, and